McDonald's sells roughly 70 hamburgers every second, around the world, 24 hours a day. And yet the hamburger is not where McDonald's makes most of its money. Most McDonald's restaurants are not even operated by McDonald's. They're run by franchisees, independent business owners who pay McDonald's for the right to use the system, which means the company everyone thinks sells burgers is actually collecting something else. Rent, royalties, fees. The burger is what you see. The machine behind the burger is the real business. Think about the last time you went to McDonald's. You probably didn't expect the best meal of your life. You expected something else. Fast, familiar, a price that made sense. Fries that tasted like McDonald's fries. And if you were in a different city, like even a different country, you still expected the system to behave almost exactly the same way. That expectation is the business. Because in food, inconsistency is expensive. One slow restaurant and customers leave. One wrong order and trust breaks. One bad forecast and food gets wasted or customers wait too long. Now multiply that across more than 45,000 restaurants in over 100 countries. That's the scale McDonald's has to manage every single day. So the real question isn't, how does McDonald's sell so many burgers? It's, how does McDonald's make millions of small decisions feel identical? Everywhere, every time? That's where the real money is. I've spent more than a decade inside planning and finance teams, building the models that show where a business actually makes its money, not where it says it does. So let's step inside the boardroom. Here's the decision McDonald's made 70 years ago, and why almost nobody understood what they were actually building until it was too late to copy. McDonald's most valuable product isn't on the menu. It's the address underneath the restaurant. In the 1950s, Ray Kroc was a milkshake machine salesman who discovered a burger stand in San Bernardino run by two brothers, Dick and Mac McDonald. What he saw wasn't a great burger, it was speed, consistency, and a system that could be copied endlessly. So, Kroc started franchising, but early on the model wasn't working. Flat franchise fees weren't capturing enough value as the business grew. Then a financial advisor named Harry Sonborn told him something that changed everything. You're not in the food business. You're in the real estate business. Buy the land, control the lease, charge rent on top of royalties. That single insight restructured McDonald's from a franchise operation into a property empire with a fast food brand attached. Imagine a franchisee generating $2.5 million a year from one location. McDonald's collects a royalty around 5% of that, plus rent on top. Multiply that across 45,000 locations, across decades, and the rent keeps arriving whether the franchisee had a good month or not. That's not a restaurant model, that's an annuity. Takeaway: the most durable businesses are rarely closest to the customer transaction. They're the ones that own the infrastructure the transaction can't happen without. But real estate alone doesn't explain why the burger tastes the same in Sydney as it does in Seoul. That part of the system runs on something else entirely. McDonald's menu looks simple. Simple is not the same as accidental. Every menu item is a business decision before it's a food decision. How long does it take to make? Can a new employee learn it in a day? Does it slow down the kitchen during a lunch rush? Can it work identically in 100 countries? A new burger isn't just a product. It's stress-tested against the entire operating system before it's approved. That's why the menu functions like a portfolio, not a list. The core burger acts as a value anchor. Fries act as a high-frequency add-on that raises average order value. Breakfast turns the restaurant into a second daily routine instead of one. Imagine a bundled meal raising the average order value by 15 to 20% compared to a single item. That's the kind of lift menu engineering is built to capture, repeated across billions of transactions a year. But engineering the menu also means protecting what customers believe about price. McDonald's has never promised luxury. It promised fast, familiar, and affordable. The moment pricing drifts too far from that promise, the brand's core asset, trust in the deal, starts to erode. That's why value meals and bundles aren't random discounts. They're a defense mechanism, calibrated constantly in the boardroom. Too many discounts train customers to wait for deals. Too few make the brand feel expensive. Takeaway: in a franchise business, the menu isn't a customer experience decision. It's a financial instrument that has to work at the counter, in the kitchen, and on the income statement simultaneously. But there's a part of this system that doesn't run on quarterly numbers at all. It runs on memory, and it starts decades before most customers ever pay for anything. McDonald's most durable competitive advantage may not be operational at all. It may be emotional, and it's installed before the customer has their own money. For many people, McDonald's is tied to a specific memory: a treat after a game, a birthday party, a road trip stop, a toy that came with the meal. Children don't think about franchise royalties or supply chain logistics. They remember the feeling. And years later, when that child becomes a commuter, a parent, or a traveler in an unfamiliar city, the brand is already familiar, before any rational comparison against a competitor even begins. That's an extraordinarily difficult thing to compete against. A rival can launch a better burger next quarter. It cannot manufacture 40 years of a customer's own childhood. Quick note: figures referenced in this section on order value and franchise economics are illustrative, based on publicly reported industry patterns, not confirmed internal McDonald's data. Takeaway: the most durable moats aren't always operational. Sometimes the strongest asset a brand owns is a memory it installed before the customer could evaluate it rationally. So the system predicts your order, protects your trust, and even owns your childhood. Which raises the obvious question: what happens when the system gets it wrong? McDonald's isn't fast because employees move quickly. It's fast because the system already guessed what you'd do before you walked in. Imagine a restaurant manager planning for a Saturday lunch rush. They need to know how many staff to schedule, how much food to prepare, when the peak hour will hit, and whether drive-through, delivery, and mobile orders will all spike at the same time. Guess too low, and the queue collapses, staff get overwhelmed, and customers leave. Guess too high, and costs rise. Too much staff, too much prepared food, too much waste. In the 1990s and early 2000s, McDonald's learned this lesson the hard way. The company added product after product: salads, gourmet burgers, McPizza, each addition making sense individually. But more items meant more complexity, and more complexity slowed the kitchens down. Consistency broke. Same-store sales growth stalled, and McDonald's found itself opening new restaurants to cover for existing ones that were underperforming. That's a real estate strategy being used to paper over an operations problem. It doesn't work for long. The recovery came from returning to the core insight. The product is the system, not the menu. Simplify, standardize. Protect the forecast the entire operation depends on. Takeaway: in a high-volume, low-margin business, one bad forecast doesn't stay one problem. It becomes staffing pressure, inventory pressure, and margin pressure, all at once. So if the system is this exposed to its own complexity, why has no competitor been able to take the model apart? McDonald's advantage was never one piece of the system. It's the fact that every piece reinforces every other piece at once. A competitor can copy the burger. Burger King has. A competitor can undercut the price. Wendy's has tried. A competitor can build a cleaner brand story. Countless fast casual chains have. None of them have closed the gap, because you can't buy 60 years of real estate acquired before land was expensive. You can't manufacture decades of franchisee relationships built on shared trust. You can't fast-track a menu engineered and re-engineered through actual failures, and you can't shortcut a childhood memory. The moat isn't the secret sauce. It's the fact that the real estate, the franchise economics, the menu discipline, and the emotional memory all had to be built in sequence over decades, and each one makes the others harder to replicate. That's not a business model, that's compounding time. So back to where we started. McDonald's sells roughly 70 hamburgers every second, and the hamburger is almost incidental. The real business is the land underneath the restaurant. The menu engineered like a financial instrument. The memory installed before you ever had your own money to spend. And a forecasting system that has to be right thousands of times a day in thousands of locations without ever visibly breaking. That is the hidden logic behind McDonald's. Not the burger, not the fries, not even the golden arches. A system built to make millions of people trust the exact same small decision, again and again, for 70 years. Here's your one question to take away. Next time you walk past any franchise business, a coffee chain, a gym, a fast food restaurant, don't ask what they're selling to the customer. Ask what system had to be built, in what order, to make that decision feel automatic. Every billion-dollar company has decisions most people never notice. Every week on Logic Atlas, we reverse engineer one of them. Not from the outside, from inside the boardroom,